Let me tell you something. Wealth isn't about luck. It's not about who you know or some secret insider trick. Wealth is built by understanding patterns. And right now, we're living in one of the most important financial transitions of our lifetime. The question is, are you positioning yourself where the smart money is flowing, or are you standing on the sidelines watching it happen? The smart money, the billionaires, the institutions, the visionaries, they don't chase trends. They anticipate them. While most people react emotionally, they move strategically. When fear hits the market, when chaos floods the headlines, when everyone else is pulling out, that's when they step in. Why? Because they understand one timeless principle opportunity lives where fear exists. So where is the smart money going right now? It's not hiding in a savings account losing value to inflation. It's not sitting in cash hoping for someday. It's being deployed in 3 places. Places that build not just wealth, but freedom. First, innovation. Every major fortune in history was built by riding a wave of innovation, not resisting it. AI, robotics, clean energy, digital infrastructure. These aren't buzzwords. They're foundations of the new economy. The smart money is not afraid of change. It funds change. The people who will own the next decade are those who invest in technologies that solve real problems faster, cheaper, and smarter. Second, hard assets. Real estate, commodities, productive land. The smart money understands that when paper burns, physical assets stand. They're buying things that have intrinsic value, not flashy cars or luxury toys that depreciate the second you buy them. I'm talking about assets that produce an income, store value, and rise with inflation. And third, and most important, themselves. The smartest investment you will ever make is in your own growth, period. Because markets will rise and fall, but your skill, your knowledge, your adaptability, that's your compounding edge. The smart money invests in mastery, in learning how to think, how to lead, how to move when others freeze. They invest in mentors, books, courses, networks, because they know one thing: you can't outperform your own psychology. See, the average investor asks, is this a good time? The smart investor asks, how do I prepare to win no matter what time it is? Right now, there are massive opportunities hidden behind the noise. The media wants you scared, but the smart money knows when others panic, assets go on sale. When everyone's chasing hype, they're quietly accumulating value. If you want to play on that level, you've got to shift from consumer to creator, from reactor to strategist. Start asking better questions. Where is the world going? What problems need solving? How can I position myself to serve, to create, to grow? Because here's the truth. You don't have to be a billionaire to think like one. You just need to train your mind like one. You need to condition your focus. You need to build emotional intelligence that outlasts market swings. So stop following the crowd. The crowd buys high and sells low. The crowd reacts to headlines instead of data. The crowd invests emotionally, not intelligently. Start thinking like the smart money. Build assets that pay you while you sleep. Put your dollars to work in innovation, in tangible value, and in yourself. And most importantly, never forget you are the asset. Where the smart money is going is not just about markets. It's about mindset. It's about having the courage to step into the unknown with strategy, not fear. It's about turning uncertainty into advantage. Because the future doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the prepared. The smart money moves strategically, not emotionally. This is a principle that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the reactive from the proactive, the average investor from the one who consistently builds wealth. Most people think investing is about luck, timing, or knowing the right person. They look at the market and let their emotions dictate their decisions. Fear causes them to sell when the market dips. Greed causes them to buy when prices are irrationally high. They are trapped in a cycle of reaction, constantly trying to catch up with what is already happening instead of positioning themselves ahead of it. Strategic investing is different. It requires disciplined foresight and the ability to detach from the noise. It requires the courage to stand apart from the crowd, to think for yourself, and to act decisively based on research, insight, and long-term vision. When we talk about strategy, we are talking about understanding patterns. The market, despite its volatility, moves in cycles. Economic shifts, technological revolutions, geopolitical events, these are forces that create opportunities for those who are ready. Smart investors study these forces, they analyze trends, and they anticipate movements before they happen. They don't follow headlines. They interpret the underlying story. They don't react to hype. They evaluate fundamentals. Their moves are calculated, not impulsive. They understand the power of patience. They know that wealth is rarely built overnight. It is compounded over time through deliberate and informed decisions. They invest with the end game in mind, not the momentary thrill of a stock spike or the temporary panic of a market downturn. Emotions are the enemy of wealth. Anxiety, fear, impatience, and overexcitement are what cause ordinary investors to make mistakes. They sell at the bottom, buy at the top, and perpetuate a cycle of losses. Smart money, on the other hand, acknowledges emotions but does not let them control decisions. They cultivate emotional intelligence, understanding that every market move triggers psychological responses in the crowd. They watch these reactions not to join them, but to take advantage of them. They understand that markets are not just numbers, they are human behavior quantified. Panic creates opportunity, greed creates risk, and understanding this duality allows strategic investors to position themselves advantageously. Strategic investing is also about clarity of purpose. The smart money moves with intent. They know why they are entering a position, what risk they are willing to take, and what potential reward justifies that risk. They set clear objectives, measure progress, and adjust tactics when necessary without abandoning the overall strategy. They are disciplined. This discipline is not about rigidity, it is about consistency. It is about having a plan, trusting the process, and sticking to it even when the crowd screams otherwise. They understand that moments of doubt are inevitable, but decisions made from fear or excitement are rarely profitable. The smart money has trained itself to think in probabilities, to assess risk versus reward objectively, and to act decisively based on reason, not impulse. Another critical component of strategic investing is diversification. Smart money does not put all eggs in one basket, nor does it chase a single hot opportunity without evaluating potential downside. They spread investments across different asset classes, industries, and geographies. This is not merely a safety measure. It is a strategic way to maximize opportunity while minimizing exposure to unforeseen risks. They understand that no one can predict the future with certainty, but they can design a portfolio that positions them to benefit under multiple scenarios. They embrace the concept of asymmetry, seeking investments where potential upside far outweighs potential downside. They analyze trends, study cycles, and place capital in areas where probability is in their favor. They are not gamblers, they are tacticians. Timing, however, is not the same as impulsiveness. The smart money understands the difference between acting quickly when an opportunity arises and acting recklessly because of emotional pressure. They prepare in advance so that when the moment comes, action is precise and decisive. This preparation includes research, building knowledge, understanding markets, and developing intuition through experience. It is why successful investors often have a long-term vision that guides their short-term moves. They know that wealth is not the result of random spikes, but of cumulative strategic choices that compound over time. They understand that every decision, every allocation, every adjustment contributes to a larger financial ecosystem they are carefully crafting. The mindset of the strategic investor is also crucial. They cultivate patience, resilience, and adaptability. They do not panic when others do. They do not get swept away by hyperfear. They remain calm, analyzing data, evaluating probabilities, and making informed decisions. They treat losses as lessons, opportunities to refine their approach, and stepping stones to mastery. They treat gains not as a reason to become complacent, but as validation that their strategy is working, prompting further refinement and scaling. Emotional detachment allows them to see the bigger picture, to identify trends that others miss, and to act with precision. Strategic investing also requires courage. It is easy to follow the crowd. It is hard to stand apart, to take calculated risks, and to act when fear dominates the market. Smart money does not seek safety in numbers. It seeks value where others see risk. They invest when others doubt. They accumulate when others sell. And they understand that discomfort is often the signal of opportunity. This courage is not reckless, it is informed. They combine research, insight, and intuition to take decisive action that others are too afraid to attempt. Finally, strategic investing is a lifelong practice. It is not a one-time decision or a lucky streak. It is a mindset of discipline and a philosophy that guides every financial decision. It requires constant learning, observation, and adaptation. Markets change, economies evolve, technologies disrupt, and geopolitical events shift. The strategic investor evolves with them, staying ahead of the curve, understanding patterns, and positioning themselves to capture opportunity while managing risk. It is a journey, not a destination, and those who embrace this mindset consistently outperform those who act from impulse, fear, or ignorance. In every market, in every economy, in every era, the principle remains the same. Smart money moves strategically, not emotionally. Those who learn this, internalize this, and act on this principle create compounding wealth, lasting freedom, and a financial life that is not dependent on luck, but designed with precision, intention, and vision. Opportunity lives where fear exists. Every great fortune, every monumental breakthrough, every story of transformation begins at the point where most people hesitate. Fear is the dividing line between those who watch opportunity pass by and those who seize it. When markets fall, when the world panics, when uncertainty fills the air, That's where the seeds of the next wave of wealth are planted. The truth is, opportunity doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides in discomfort. It lives in those moments when everything inside you wants to play it safe, when the logical mind says, wait, but the strategic mind says, move. Those who recognize this truth understand that fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to look deeper, to lean in, to explore what others are running from. In every crisis throughout history, fear has been the catalyst for massive opportunity. When the world froze during recessions, economic crashes, or global events, the ones who stayed calm, who kept their composure, who acted strategically, found themselves years ahead of everyone else. When fear grips the market, prices drop, assets go on sale, and potential skyrockets. But most people can't see that because they're emotionally consumed. They think fear means danger, when in reality, it often means hidden value. The crowd sells off assets in panic, while the patient and prepared accumulate them quietly. Those who understand that fear distorts perception are able to see beyond the illusion of risk. They understand that real danger lies in inaction, in letting fear dictate choices, in staying stagnant when the world is shifting around them. Opportunity and fear are inseparable twins. You can't have one without the other. The moment something feels completely safe, it's usually too late to profit from it. When everyone believes an opportunity is guaranteed, the upside is gone. But when people are uncertain, skeptical, or afraid, that's when the upside is greatest. The smart money knows this. They use fear as a compass, not as a barrier. When the world retreats, they advance. They don't let emotions cloud their judgment. They use logic, analysis, and pattern recognition to make decisions others are too afraid to consider. They see fear as energy that can be harnessed to create wealth, progress, and transformation. Fear reveals value because it creates scarcity of courage. And courage is the rarest currency in the marketplace. Anyone can invest when times are good, but it takes conviction to invest when the world doubts. It takes vision to see potential in chaos. Every major wealth shift in history has come from those who acted when everyone else froze. After crashes, after wars, after technological revolutions, those who had the courage to believe in the future became the leaders of the next economy. They didn't let headlines or social chatter decide for them. They trusted their preparation, their principles, and their perspective. That's what separates winners from warriors. The warrior waits for certainty. The winner creates it. Fear exists in every domain of life, not just in markets. It exists when you're about to start a business, when you're switching careers, when you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. And the same rule applies. Opportunity lies on the other side of fear. Fear shows up right before growth, right before expansion, right before the breakthrough. It's the test that asks, are you serious about what you want, or are you just curious? Those who push through the fear barrier find doors that others don't even know exist. Fear is not a wall, it's a doorway disguised as one. You can't eliminate it, you have to face it, master it, and move through it with clarity and intention. What most people don't understand is that fear is information. It's feedback. It's energy. It tells you that something important is at stake. The key is not to suppress it, but to decode it. Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to protect me from? What is it pointing to? Often fear is just the brain's reaction to uncertainty, not to danger. But when you train your mind to separate perceived risk from actual risk, you unlock freedom. You start seeing opportunities that others miss. You stop reacting emotionally and start acting intelligently. The smart money knows this. They analyze risk objectively, not emotionally. They identify when fear is justified and when it's simply noise. That's what gives them their edge every time the world changes. Fear spikes first and profit follows later. Think about every major technological evolution. The internet, cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, renewable energy. In the beginning, people mocked, doubted, and feared these innovations. The majority hesitated. The minority acted. Those who stepped in when uncertainty was highest became pioneers. That's the pattern. Fear blinds the many, but it guides the few. The same principle applies in business, in personal development, and in leadership. Fear exposes where growth is needed. It shows you exactly where your next level is hiding. The challenge is that most people have been conditioned to run from fear. They've been taught that fear equals failure. But the truth is, fear equals potential. It's your signal that something new is being born. The greater the fear, the greater the possible reward. You can't grow your finances, your business, or your mindset without walking through fear. It's the toll gate you must pass to reach the next stage. The key is not to eliminate fear, but to reframe it. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if this fear is showing me exactly where I'm meant to go? That one mental shift can change everything. Because the moment you stop running from fear It stops controlling you. Opportunity hides in places that require courage. It hides in the industries that are being disrupted, in the assets that are temporarily undervalued, in the ideas that challenge the status quo. It hides in conversations that make you uncomfortable, in investments that others don't understand yet, in chances that seem uncertain but have massive potential. To find those opportunities, you have to be willing to think differently. You have to be willing to be early, to be misunderstood, to take strategic risks while others wait for proof. Because by the time the world catches up, the opportunity is gone. The window closes when comfort enters. The people who win in life and business are those who have trained their nervous systems to stay calm in chaos. They have learned how to breathe through uncertainty, how to find clarity when others panic. They have conditioned their focus to stay on possibilities instead of problems. That's what gives them their power. They don't see fear as an obstacle. They see it as an indicator that something valuable is nearby. They've built the internal resilience to act decisively even when emotions are high. That's why they consistently find themselves in the right place at the right time, not because of luck, but because they are willing to move when others hesitate. Fear is a filter that removes the unprepared. It's nature's way of testing who's serious. It separates the masses from the masters. The masses run from it. The masters run toward it. The more comfortable you become with discomfort, the more opportunities you'll find. The moment you train your mind to interpret fear as a signal for growth, you stop being limited by it. You start looking for it because you know that fear points to something meaningful, something that has the power to change your life, your wealth, and your destiny. Invest in innovation. Fund the future. Don't fear it. The world is changing faster than ever before. And the greatest wealth of this generation is being built by those who recognize that innovation is not a threat, it's an opportunity. Every major revolution in human history, from the industrial age to the digital age, was powered by people who dared to believe in progress before it was obvious. The difference between those who build empires and those who get left behind is mindset. Some people see new technology and feel fear. They focus on what could go wrong. The smart ones, the strategic ones, look at that same change and ask, what could this make possible? Because innovation doesn't wait for permission. It moves with or without you. The question is not whether the world will change. The question is whether you'll be positioned to benefit from it. When it does, innovation is the fuel that drives economic evolution. It's the reason new industries emerge and old ones fade away. The people who invest in innovation are not just buying stocks or businesses. They're buying time, progress, and possibility. They're investing in the next generation of solutions, in the technologies that will shape how we live, work, and connect. Whether it's artificial intelligence, renewable energy, biotechnology, blockchain, or space exploration, the pattern is always the same. At first, people resist. They say it's too risky, too early, too complicated. But while they hesitate, visionaries act. They see that every breakthrough starts as a bold idea that seems impossible until it becomes inevitable. The smart money doesn't chase the trend. It builds the trend before the crowd sees it. To invest in innovation is to invest in human potential. Every advancement in technology is born from someone's imaginations, someone who refused to accept limitations. The wheel, electricity, flight, the internet, all of it began as innovation that once scared people. And yet, every time innovation prevails, it expands what's possible for everyone. That's why the smart money doesn't run from change, it runs toward it. It looks for industries that are reinventing the way we live. It studies emerging technologies not to speculate blindly, but to understand which ones are solving real problems. Because true innovation is not about hype, it's about value creation. It's about identifying solutions that improve efficiency, reduce costs, enhance human capability, and open up entirely new markets. The truth is, innovation is not optional. It's the pulse of progress. Every business that fails to innovate eventually gets replaced by one that does. Every investor who resists change eventually gets left behind by those who embrace it. The ones who succeed are not necessarily the most intelligent or the most experienced. They're the most adaptable. They have the awareness to see that disruption is not destruction, it's evolution. They understand that the world doesn't reward those who cling to the past. It rewards those who prepare for the future. So instead of fearing automation, they look for ways to leverage it. Instead of avoiding technology, they learn how to integrate it. Instead of complaining about how things are changing, they position themselves to profit from it. Investing in innovation also means investing in infrastructure, the backbone that supports future industries. Every wave of technological progress requires new systems, new logistics, new forms of energy and communication. The smart investor understands that the money is not only in the invention itself, but in the ecosystem that surrounds it. For example, during the rise of the internet, It wasn't just the software companies that made fortunes. It was also the ones who built the cables, the servers, the data centers, the hardware. During the renewable energy boom, it wasn't just the solar panel manufacturers who benefited. It was also the companies that developed better storage, smarter grids, and sustainable supply chains. To invest in innovation is to think holistically, to see the ripple effect and anticipate where value will be created next. But investing in innovation is not just about financial capital. It's also about mental capital. It's about training your mind to stay curious, open, and willing to learn. The biggest barrier to opportunity is not technology, it's the human fear of change. People resist what they don't understand, and that resistance creates delay. The smart money knows that the faster you adapt, the more advantage you gain. That's why they constantly study, network, and seek exposure to new ideas. They know that innovation rewards those who evolve. They don't need to be experts in every new trend, but they make sure they understand the fundamentals, how it works, why it matters, and how it connects to larger patterns. They look beyond the hype and analyze the utility, because while trends come and go, true innovation solves problems that matter. Fear, however, is a powerful force. It stops people from taking action. It convinces them that innovation will make them obsolete. But the truth is, innovation only threatens those who refuse to grow. Every time technology automates a task, it creates new industries, new careers, new opportunities. The people who benefit are the ones who stay ahead of the curve. They learn how to work with technology instead of against it. They understand that progress is not an enemy, it's an ally. The ones who fear innovation cling to comfort and lose ground. The ones who embrace it expand their reach, their resources, and their relevance. That's the mindset that defines where the smart money flows. There's a reason why the wealthiest individuals on the planet are consistently tied to innovation. They invest in companies that redefine industries, not ones that preserve the status quo. They understand exponential growth, that when technology compounds, it doesn't just double, it multiplies possibilities. They see patterns years before the masses because they study human needs, not just market charts. They ask what pain point is about to be solved, what inefficiency is being disrupted, what shift is happening that most people haven't noticed yet. Those are the questions that lead them to invest in the next great innovation before it becomes mainstream. And yet, innovation isn't just about machines or code. It's about mindset, it's about creativity, problem solving, and the courage to explore what's never been done before. It's about betting on human ingenuity. The world's biggest opportunities are born at the intersection of imagination and execution. The smart investor recognizes that innovation is not linear, it's exponential. It starts slow, then suddenly transforms everything. That's why they stay patient through the early stages and confident through the chaos. They know that revolutions don't announce themselves. They begin quietly with a few visionaries who believe deeply in a new way of doing things. And those who invest in those early moments often build generational wealth. To invest in innovation is to invest in progress itself. It's to place your trust in the future instead of your fear in the past. It's to understand that technology is not replacing humanity, it's amplifying it. Every new tool gives us more leverage, more reach, more potential to create impact. Those who resist change will always find reasons to justify staying stuck. Those who embrace it will always find ways to grow. And the ones who fund innovation, the ones who take that leap when others hesitate, become the architects of the next chapter of prosperity. Hard assets protect and build lasting wealth. In a world where digital numbers on a screen can disappear overnight, where inflation quietly eats away at the value of your money, where markets rise and fall with every headline, hard assets stand firm. They are the foundation of true, enduring wealth. They are tangible, real, and resilient. They don't vanish in a panic. They don't evaporate when confidence fades. They hold value because they are connected to something fundamental: the earth, the economy, and human necessity. The smart money understands this. That's why when uncertainty strikes, when currencies fluctuate, when governments print trillions, they turn to hard assets to anchor their portfolios. Real wealth is not about what looks good on paper. It's about what holds its ground when everything else shakes. Hard assets are things you can touch, see, and use: real estate, precious metals, commodities, productive land, infrastructure, and energy resources. They have intrinsic value because they serve a purpose. People will always need shelter, food, energy, and raw materials. No matter what happens to the stock market, those needs don't disappear. That's why the smart money doesn't rely solely on paper promises. They buy land that produces crops, buildings that generate rental income, metals that preserve purchasing power, and assets that hedge against inflation. They know that money itself is not wealth, it's a claim on wealth, and that claim is only as strong as what backs it. When currencies weaken, hard assets rise because they represent real ownership in something that can't be printed or manipulated by policy. Inflation is one of the most powerful destroyers of wealth. It's invisible, but it's relentless. Every year, it erodes the value of your cash, making your savings worth less in real terms. The smart investor understands this and uses hard assets as a shield. When prices rise, tangible assets often rise with them, preserving and sometimes even increasing purchasing power. That's why throughout history, in every economic cycle, those who held hard assets came out stronger after periods of volatility. Whether it was gold during inflationary decades, real estate during currency devaluations, or farmland during times of scarcity, these assets consistently offered protection. They move in rhythm with reality, not speculation. They're not dependent on optimism or hype. They're tied to necessity and human behavior, but the power of hard assets goes beyond protection. They build wealth because they generate income and appreciate over time. Real estate produces cash flow through rent. Productive land generates harvests. Infrastructure earns through usage and utility. These are not static stores of value. They are active vehicles of growth. The smart money knows that wealth is not built by storing, but by multiplying. That's why they structure their portfolios to include assets that both preserve value and produce it. They're not chasing fast gains. They're building foundations. They understand that when you control hard assets, you're not just holding value, you're creating it. You're becoming part of the system that others depend on. And that is the ultimate form of financial power. Another reason the smart money loves hard assets is because of control. In volatile markets, you can't control interest rates, stock prices, or economic policy. But you can control how you manage your real estate, how you develop your land, how you utilize your resources. Hard assets give you leverage not just in returns, but in decision making. They put power back into your hands. They're not just an investment, they're a form of independence. You can touch them, improve them, expand them. They're not abstract. They're not just numbers in an account that someone else manages. They are real, tangible anchors of wealth that respond to your action and strategy. Hard assets also carry psychological stability. When markets crash, when digital wealth evaporates in seconds, there's a deep sense of security in knowing you own something that exists beyond the screen. A building, a piece of land, a tangible commodity. These things hold emotional and strategic strength. They remind you that your wealth is not dependent on the moods of a market. They remind you that while others panic, you have something solid, something that can't be wiped out by fear. This is why during times of global uncertainty, the wealthiest individuals and institutions quietly increase their positions in tangible assets. They diversify into real estate, infrastructure, metals, and agriculture, not because they're old-fashioned, but because they're smart. They understand that while innovation and technology create opportunities, hard assets preserve the power to endure. The beauty of hard assets is that they compound in multiple ways. First, they often appreciate in value. Second, they can generate ongoing cash flow. Third, they provide tax advantages and leverage opportunities. Fourth, they offer a hedge against currency and market volatility. And fifth, they give you optionality, the ability to pivot, refinance, develop, or expand depending on market conditions. The smart money uses hard assets as a foundation for both stability and flexibility. They know that when you have a strong base of real value, you can take calculated risks elsewhere. You can participate in innovation and growth knowing that your foundation is secure. It's not about being conservative, it's about being strategic. It's about protecting your downside while positioning for upside. Hard assets also connect you to real value creation. When you own land, you understand the power of productivity. When you own a building, you understand the power of utility. When you own commodities, you understand the flow of supply and demand. This connection creates smarter investors. It reminds you that wealth isn't abstract, it's practical. It comes from solving problems, meeting needs, and creating utility. That's what makes hard assets timeless. They are not dependent on the latest trend or digital token. They are grounded in the basic principles of human survival and growth. And as long as humanity exists, those principles will never change. In a world increasingly dominated by digital speculation, hard assets represent balance. They remind us that real wealth has weight, texture, and use. While technology evolves and markets shift, the fundamentals of value remain constant. The smart money uses innovation to expand, but uses hard assets to secure. They understand that diversification isn't just about owning different assets, it's about owning different types of assets. Some that grow fast, others that endure long. Hard assets are the anchors that allow you to weather storms without losing your direction. They are the silent protectors of wealth, steadying your financial journey through chaos and change. And beyond the financial logic, there's something deeply human about owning something real, land that grows food, a home that shelters families. Materials that build cities, these are the roots of civilization. To invest in them is to invest in stability, sustainability, and the continuity of life itself. That's why no matter how advanced technology becomes, no matter how digital the world turns, the smart money will always return to hard assets. Because while numbers fluctuate, while systems evolve, the value of something real, something solid, never disappears. The greatest investment is always in yourself. Every other investment flows from that one truth. You can buy stocks, real estate, or gold, but if your mindset is weak, if your discipline is fragile, if your belief system is limited, those assets will slip through your fingers. Because wealth starts from within. It begins in your psychology, your habits, your energy, and your ability to make powerful decisions under pressure. The smart money knows this. They understand that before you can multiply your capital, you have to multiply your capacity. Before you can build external wealth, you must build internal strength. Your greatest asset is not the market, not your business, not your connections. It's you. Every person who has created lasting success has done it because they invested in their growth. They studied, they trained, they surrounded themselves with mentors, and they conditioned their minds for resilience. The market can take everything from you: money, reputation, opportunities. But if you've developed your mindset, your skills, and your emotional intelligence, you can rebuild it all. That's why the most successful people in the world focus relentlessly on self-mastery. They understand that financial intelligence without emotional intelligence collapses. They know that the external world mirrors the internal one. If you want a stronger business, build a stronger mindset. If you want more wealth, expand your belief system about what's possible. If you want better results, improve the person producing them. Investing in yourself means taking ownership of your personal development like your life depends on it, because it does. You are the driver of every decision, the engine of every opportunity, and the gatekeeper of every outcome. Your skill set, your mindset, and your energy determine the quality of your results. The smart investor doesn't just read market charts, they study human behavior. They learn psychology, communication, leadership, negotiation, and discipline. They treat growth as a non-negotiable investment, not a luxury. They know that if they can control their focus, manage their emotions, and stay centered in chaos, they can find opportunities others miss. Because in business and investing, the most valuable advantage is composure. The ability to stay calm while others panic is what separates the professional from the amateur. There's a reason why the world's most influential leaders read constantly, seek mentors, and invest in coaching. They understand that growth compounds just like money. Every book, every course, every experience adds layers of perspective and power. Each new skill expands what you can contribute and therefore what you can earn. You don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. When you raise your value through knowledge and mastery, your income eventually reflects it. The average person seeks returns from investments. The extraordinary person seeks returns from improvement. Because when you elevate who you are, everything else, wealth, health, relationships, elevates with it. Most people spend more time planning their vacations than they do planning their personal growth. They invest in entertainment, but not in education. They want a bigger paycheck, but resist becoming a bigger person. The smart money knows better. They understand that growth requires discomfort. It requires stepping into uncertainty, confronting your weaknesses, and demanding more from yourself. Investing in yourself means breaking patterns that hold you back: procrastination, fear, self-doubt, limiting beliefs. It means rewiring your identity from "I can't" to "I will find a way." That shift alone changes everything, because when your identity expands, your results follow. Investing in yourself also means protecting your environment. Who you spend time with shapes your standards. The people around you influence how you think, how you act, and how far you go. The smart investor curates their circle like a portfolio. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, who think bigger, who operate at higher levels of excellence. They know that proximity is power. Energy is contagious. If you want to rise, you must align with people who are already living at the level you aspire to reach. That's not about ego. It's about alignment. Because the company you keep determines your direction more than your intention. Your body and health are also part of your greatest investment. You can't build wealth if your energy is depleted, your focus is foggy, or your body is breaking down. The foundation of performance is vitality. The smartest people on the planet guard their energy like their most precious currency. They train, they rest, they fuel themselves with purpose. They understand that peak performance requires physical, emotional, and mental optimization. Because when your body feels strong, your mind thinks clearer, and your actions become more effective. You make better decisions, you move with confidence, and you sustain momentum longer than those who neglect their well-being. Your health is not separate from your success. It is the engine that drives it. Another form of investing in yourself is mastering emotional control. The market rewards those who can stay grounded when everyone else is losing their minds. Business rewards those who can think clearly when others react impulsively. Life rewards those who can stay grateful and focused even when things don't go as planned. Emotional mastery is not about suppression, it's about awareness. It's knowing when fear is lying to you, when ego is leading you, and when doubt is trying to hold you back. The more you train your emotional state, the more you can influence your results. The smart money understands that certainty is an emotion, not a condition. You generate it from within, and it becomes the foundation for every bold move you make. Education, mentorship, and experience. These are the tools of self-investment. Every dollar you spend on learning pays you back in clarity, confidence, and capability. Every lesson learned becomes leverage for the future. Even failures become valuable, because when you've developed the ability to extract lessons from every experience, nothing is wasted. Every setback becomes training. Every obstacle becomes data. You evolve faster because you're no longer attached to outcomes, you're focused on growth. The people who build lasting success don't fear mistakes, they study them. They understand that wisdom doesn't come from winning, it comes from reflection. That's why they're always moving forward, always improving, always adapting. Investing in yourself also means developing your intuition, that inner guidance that tells you when something is right or wrong. The smartest investors listen to logic, but also trust their instincts. Intuition is not magic. It's pattern recognition built through experience. The more you learn, the sharper it becomes. You start sensing opportunities before data confirms them. You start reading people's situations and markets with more accuracy. You make faster and more confident decisions because you trust yourself. That self-trust is what allows you to take bold actions when others hesitate. It's what gives you the courage to bet on yourself, to take risks others are too afraid to take. And perhaps the most powerful form of investing in yourself is developing an unshakable mindset of abundance. Most people operate from scarcity. They believe there's not enough time, money, or opportunity. That belief limits everything they do. But when you invest in your personal growth, you learn that abundance is a state of mind. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. You realize that success is not about taking from others, it's about creating more for everyone. That shift changes how you lead, how you earn, and how you give. It makes you unstoppable because you no longer depend on circumstances. You create them when you commit to growth. When you decide that your personal evolution is your top priority, you stop chasing success and start attracting it. You stop hoping for opportunity and start creating it. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. Every hour you invest in learning, every moment you spend refining your craft, every effort you make to strengthen your mind and body compounds over time. That compound effect is what builds unstoppable momentum. The smartest people know this, that the world outside can only expand to the level that you expand within